And when they get desperate to get the city of Bakhmut, then they launch the terrorist attacks against civilian population throughout Ukraine. Just again to show to Russian people that they still have upper hand in the war, that they still can do something.
There has been shelling across Ukraine overnight. Kyiv's mayors reported that Russia struck the city during its latest mass strikes. Writing on Telegram in the last hour, Vitaly Klitschko said explosions they've seen and witnessed in the Holsty district of the capital. He said all services follow in place. More details later. As we get those details, we'll bring them to you here. Russia's carried out a series of missile strikes in Kharkiv, Odessa, the capital. There's blackouts in several areas. Let's go live to Kyiv to speak to the Ukrainian MP and leader of the Golos party, Kira Rudik. Kira, a very good morning to you. Just explain, what have you seen and heard overnight?
Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Well, indeed, there were explosions during the night, and almost the whole night we were under the air raid sirens being on. It's unusual because previous Russian commander used to strike us early in the morning, and this one is doing at night, which is making harder for families, for people just, to hide at the bomb shelters, to find the shelters late at night, especially that during the night we have a curfew where you are not supposed to be outside. So we don't know yet what the destructions are. We know that the critical infrastructure was hit, so they are still out for our energy and heat infrastructure. However, we already survived the winter. And again, for the explanations, they are hitting it not because it has any military meaning. They're hitting it to make our lives worse. It's a pure terrorist attack. And I just hope that once the details are announced, that nobody is hurt.
Yes, so far we don't know anything about casualties. And as you've said, it's probably too early to know the extent of the damage. The people that you've spoken to this morning, I mean, are people up, awake, scared? Are they feeling okay?
Well, people are scared because the previous massive attack on Kyiv was, I think, probably after the New Year's. And you get used to this shire normality, hoping that nothing bad will happen to you. And every single time, like when this happens, you are reminded that no, we are at war. No, there is a terrorist after us, and that tomorrow is never given. And this is why, like, the morning started with just calling your parents, calling your friends, checking that everybody is okay, making sure that no help is needed. And we just really want to figure out a way to defend ourselves against it. And a year into the full-scale invasion, with all the air defense systems, we still do not have an ability to make sure that when Russians send missiles, we are able to intercept them. And this is why we are calling for the fighter jets. This is why President Zelensky was in London calling to give us the jets, because they would prevent from exactly what happened at night from happening. We would be able to have additional layer of security on our skies and on ability for the Russian missiles to actually reach the targets.
Just explain, in lieu of having those air defence systems in place, what kind of warning system do you get living in the capital that missiles are coming?
Oh, it's an air raid siren. It comes from the street, but you also have an app on your phone that is, in case you didn't hear the air raid siren. But generally, it's this old system that was there since Soviet Union, prepared for Cold War, where and the sound of siren is just terrifying because it's just terrifying as it is itself. And this is the warnings that is telling everybody to go to the bomb shelter. And sometimes it is repeated if the threat is approaching. And then on your app, you would get the notification from the city, like when it's over. It is something that is a part of our everyday, because the air raid sirens are turned on often when Russian fighter jets are in the air, or if we know that there would be a missile hit. And this is why you kind of get used to it, knowing like there is a threat. But tonight the missile attack was like really active. Russian learned to overpass some of their air defense systems by having attacks on different cities at the same time. And again, the additional layer of security would be something that would really, really help.
And that is what's happened overnight. Look, for the last few days, we've all been speaking about Bakhmut, which is effectively lying in ruins. What do you think has happened, which means the Russians have changed tact and changed strategy just overnight to say we're going to hit multiple cities at once?
Well, we are talking about two parallel things. The first is the fighting at the front, where Russians did not have any major victory since October, and they are desperately trying to have the battlefield victory to show to their propaganda. Sometimes there are days when they lose over 1,000 people in one day because they are not really using a lot of artillery there anymore. They have destroyed the city, so they are using people as a battlefield meat. And we are standing very strong there because it's a critical point for us. And also lots of Russian forces are concentrated there, so they are not fighting elsewhere. And when they get desperate to get the city of Bakhmut, then they launch the terrorist attacks against civilian population throughout Ukraine. Just again to show to Russian people that they still have upper hand in the war, that they still can do something. But the truth is, uh, there was not much of a progress from their side. And destroying our energy infrastructure is not something that you can show to Russian people and say, oh, look how we won, or we made them cold. Well, it's already spring. We will survive. We have survived through the winter, and now we feel pretty confident about the next couple of months. So it's just their strategy, and we need to understand that we are not talking about like war as it is. It's a terrorist attack that being launched on us like almost every other day.
Kira, thank you so much for giving us the very latest, what's happened overnight in Ukraine and in the capital. We really appreciate your time. Ukrainian MP and leader of the Golos party, Kira Rudik, who's been a frequent friend to this programme.